Good morning, friends, and happy Quarantine Tuesday. This is Denise Hammonds coming from my house, and I'm doing the second video that I'm going to post for our relationships small group skills. This skill is about respect for men. So hopefully you'll get something out of this for those of you that are new. There are 6 skills, and this is number 2. The bottom line is that men need respect. Women, we know, need love, and men need respect in the same sense. We're different. We all need love and respect, but for men, respect is way more important to them than love. Some of the research that I'm going to be talking about comes from the Emerson Eggerichs books about love and respect, also from Shaunti Feldhahn, who is a researcher, and she's done a lot of work with men and respect. She's written some books as well, so check her out, Shaunti Feldhahn, and also Emerson Eggerichs. But even the Bible talks about husbands are to love their wives and women are to respect their husbands. And it's because those are the driving needs that we have. Women need love, men need respect. It's easy for women to love because we understand that. That's where we live. And it's easy for men to respect. So I think that's why the Bible commands women to respect their husbands and men to love their wives. So the problem is that our society doesn't actually buy into this. You know, all of the movies that we see are all about love and the fairy tale romance, and that appeals to women. And it does appeal to men in a sense, but our culture has really started disrespecting men. And they seem to get on this bandwagon. It's okay for women to be disrespectful. So it's important for us to learn this. So here's a test to see where you stand. Do you often see yourself as smarter or more capable than some of the men in your life? Either your significant other, your co-workers that are men, your sons, whoever it may be. If you see yourself as smarter because you do things differently, then you could be harboring some disrespect. So maybe think about that. Respecting somebody simply means that even if you don't agree with them, you still honor their decisions for their life. When you respect someone, you can listen to them without talking about they should change things, without offering suggestions or helpful, I put helpful in quotes, tips, because sometimes we think we're being helpful, but we're trying to actually control someone. And a lot of times with men, we're being disrespectful. Respect does not dismiss, criticize, or contradict, or try to teach a man how to do something the right way. Respect doesn't make fun of a man for doing things the way a man does things, which is often completely different than the way a woman does it. Different is not wrong. It's just different. When you hold yourself to a high standard of respecting men, you'll begin to recognize disrespect in the culture. You'll begin to see other people being disrespectful, other women especially. And you will also catch yourself doing or saying things that are disrespectful, and you will apologize for that disrespect. I'm going to introduce you to some respectful phrases that you can use. The first phrase is whatever you think. Men live in a thinking world, not a feeling world. And whatever you think is also different from whatever you want. Whatever you think is more analytical, and that's where most men live. Men don't necessarily want our opinion as women. Sometimes they may ask, where do you want to go eat? Often that they do want our opinion in those scenarios, but what they really need from us is affirmation. A lot of times men come to us with a problem and they want to know that we believe in them and trust that they can do it. They need to know that we are on their team, and that's way different than weighing in and giving our opinion. I mean, sometimes we can give our opinion and say, but whatever you think. So using that phrase that communicates trust, whatever you think, is a great way to show respect. When a man asks for a woman's opinion, he's often looking for that affirmation. And I'm going to share a personal example. A few years ago, my husband came to me after I had expressed a desire to get our house painted. I just said, I would love to get the house painted this summer. I didn't put it on him. I didn't say how. I just put it out there as a pure desire, which is something we talked about last week, right? And he came to me then. He wanted to please me and get the house painted. So he came to me with all these paint colors. And he asked me which ones I liked. And so I looked at them and I said, well, I really like these colors, but whatever you think. So then he went away, and then he came back to me a second time with the same kind of thing, different paint colors this time. The third time, like I kept saying, I like this, but whatever you think. And finally, I said to him, I trust you. I know you're going to do a great job with this. And he actually got the house painted and it looked great. But what I came to realize, to my dismay, was that in my past interactions with him, I had taught him to check in with me because he could never make me happy. I had also been difficult to please, and that made me really sad. So he came to me 3 times to check to make sure he was doing what would make me happy. But I truly realized that whenever I would say whatever you think, that gave him permission to move forward and do a great job. And he did. It turned out fabulously well, right? It was just paint colors, but it was a big deal. So the point of this story is that although he did want my input on the house colors, he was also seeking my belief that he would do a good job. So you know that phrase, behind every good man is a great woman. I really believe that phrase is referring to a woman who believes in her man. He's needing that person to be his biggest cheerleader. And, men are just grown-up little boys. Little boys will ride their bike down the street and say, look, Mom, no hands. They want that affirmation. They need that respect. So a second phrase that I'm going to teach you is, I hear you. Often men will share with us something, and our tendency is to weigh in and to give our opinion or offer some helpful advice, try to fix it. But unless they're really asking for our advice, sometimes there have been times that I've said, are you asking for my advice? Because sometimes it's hard to tell. But most of the time, they just need to vent. They need someone to hear them. And I realized when I was in marriage counseling with my husband, he kept saying, nobody's listening, nobody's hearing me. And when I started using this phrase, one day we went to counseling and he told the counselor, she started listening to me. I had always been listening, but because I was saying, I hear you, every time he would say something, then he started connecting with me, listening. So be careful about trying to be helpful. Instead, say things like, I hear you, I hear what you're saying, that sounds really frustrating. Something to that effect that will help them understand that we're not trying to fix them. We are listening. We're there on their team. When we create a safe place for the men in our lives to share and to vent without any criticism, without any judgment, we're actually allowing them hopefully to be more open and vulnerable with us more consistently. Because what happens a lot of times when we try to weigh in and give our opinion, men take it as criticism and disrespect, and then they stop talking to us. So what speaks disrespect to a man? This is something that I didn't understand, and I was so disrespectful to my husband for so many years. So this is something that we as women really need to pay attention to. Trying to be helpful. Often we disguise our disrespect with being helpful. When we tell a man how to drive, when we give him details on how to do something, how to dress. That is speaking disrespect. It's like saying, I don't trust you to do this without my input. When we question, when we often grill our men by asking them for details of how they plan to do something or ask constant questions about a situation. I used to think that this was just trying to carry on the conversation, but to a man, this can indicate to them that we don't believe they can do it without our help, or we don't trust them completely to do something correctly. And then there's man bashing. This goes on in the society often. Women often get together and they kind of compare notes with what my husband did, what my significant other did, what my son did. When we focus on those negative things, we actually make those bigger and we give them energy in our brains and our minds. The best thing that we can do to respect our men in our lives is to refrain from the man bashing and really focus on the positive. Gather evidence that the men in our lives are trustworthy, that they are worthy of our respect. So remind yourself that the men in your lives are smarter and more capable than we often give them credit for. Believe it or not, they can usually figure something out without our help. Now, I think we've enabled them a lot of times, because sometimes they'll call and say, hey, where's the, mustard, or where do I find this in the house? Or, how do I do this? Sometimes we need to just say, you know what, I don't have time to help you with that, and let them figure it out. Natural consequences, right? It may be different from the way that we do it when they figure it out, but it's not wrong. It's just different. I used to roll my eyes about how my husband took care of the kids when I was gone, what they had for dinner, but they survived. It's different. It's not wrong. I want to leave you with a respect test. So communicate to a man in your life that you've just been thinking about them and some things that you respect about him. Then stop talking, put on duct tape, and wait. Almost always they will say, wait, what things? Because they want to know. That will give you evidence that they are looking for that respect. And obviously be ready to give them some things that you respect about them. Men are hungry for respect, especially from the women in their lives. So I want to leave you with that. I will have available a Zoom call tomorrow night, Wednesday, if anybody is wanting to do that and to talk more about the skills. So far, we've covered self-care and respect for men. So have a great day. Bye.